done, especially in times of challenges, and how he created, pluses from minuses, and then also the weaknesses into strength. Hemmat started the Hemmat Shabab Foundation with many of our young Yemenis, both young ladies and young gentlemen. Almost 15 years ago, they started in an ad hoc seasonal support for the challenges that Yemen was facing. And then the Hemmat Shabab Foundation became an entity registered with the Yemeni government and many NGOs and international organizations like the United Nations, like UNICEF, like UNDP, like GIZ, the German, and then the Japanese relief, and many others. So it was a concept, like many other concepts and ideas. Without good planning, without integration by design, you wouldn't succeed. I read this book about 10 years ago. It says why some ideas survive and others die. If you haven't read it, it's good to buy it. Made to stick. So the Hemmat Foundation, is made to stick in our minds and our hearts, in our beloved Yemen. As Yemenis, we say that, not that the subject of Islam, is the Muslim community, but the subject of Islam in the early stage was the Yemenis that supported the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ when his family betrayed him in Mecca. And if it wasn't the support from Yemen, the Ansar, the Aus and Khazraj, if it wasn't the support of, we wouldn't have seen Islam going to the east, South Asia, and to the north of Africa and many other places. Without further delay, Muhammad studied business and IT at the American University in Sharjah, and then after 10 years he went to University of London Business School and he finished his MBA, and he's an entrepreneur. He inherited family business in the oil and gas business, and now he started also another mental health program, retreat, to empower the mental health capacity of the young professionals. It's called, I call it enhancement and advancement, but his real name is Expand and Evolve. And he goes to Socotra, the most beautiful island in the world. So he promised that he will take us to Socotra in December. Rania Ayub, our former communication director, is ready, Sahab, and hopefully Leila and many others to join. Thank you very much, Muhammad, for staying with us and expanding and evolving with us. Thank you very much. Let's welcome Muhammad, everybody.
So good to be back after 12 years. Almost a lot of familiar faces here. For those that I've met today, I'm also honored to be here. There might come a question, why are we talking about Hemmat Shabab today? And I'd like to address the answer at the end of the presentation. But maybe at this point, I'd like to highlight a few points that in any work that we do, that could be also relatable to anything, whether that is business or social entrepreneurship, or even taking care of our personal capacities or human capacities. We always kind of start from a place where we need to put an intention. Why are we doing what we're doing? So Hemmat Shabab, when it started back in 2008, it was a group of friends who were sitting at one time in a what we call it Majlis in Yemen, and it just happened that it was Ramadan, and we were reviewing some of the UN reports talking about how Yemen is considered to be one of the most poorest countries within the Arab nation. And as we were going through the report, we were asking ourselves, what can we do as Yemenis who are living in Yemen back in the days in 2008 to make this Ramadan different from our own places? Like some of us were already working, having management roles in their own family businesses, others were having corporate jobs, and the others were actually trying to be of support to kind of put the seed to this initiative. So in 2008, what we did was, we put a box in the middle of the majlis and we said we would like to target 100 families that we would like to put them in a database to do a survey and to understand what is the need assessment for these families. And with that, we wanted also to distribute food baskets. What happened at the end of Ramadan, we were able to actually target not only 100, we were able to target more than 600 families in 2 governorates, Sana'a and Taiz. And so this group of friends who were coming together with their families started to have this activity a year after year ongoing to try and expand this pool of families in order for them to kind of get more information at some point of how we can really help them build projects. We never knew about back at that point that it's going to grow and be a foundation. We just wanted to do something that we give back with a good intent to help others. 2012, it came to a point where we started seeing that the volunteers who were working with us in Ramadans started to expand in 5 governorates: Sana'a, Taiz, Aden, Hodeidah, and Mukalla. That's when we realized we wanted to kind of institutionalize the foundation, make it more of a proper legalized entity, because that's when we thought our expertise in the private sector or the corporate world, we thought of integrating it into a foundation to make it be something that could be sustainable in the future. And that's how the story started. Now, what actually, I feel like what really made Hemmat Shabab stand out, especially when it started establishing in 2012, we wanted to really put an emphasis that whatever we have learned in the business world, we wanted to implement it inside the foundation. By that I mean the transparency of our audited financial statements, because we knew that we're going to talk to private sector companies, we knew that we're going to approach to international NGOs and donors. And so from day one, we put our structure into having the same structure that we apply in the corporate world. Our mission really was mainly coming from a place of trying to help in the sector of the socio-economic development, and also try to integrate the Yemeni youth to be part of making Yemen a better place for these less fortunate families. So we started having this target sector. Year after year, the foundation started to grow, and we started understanding how it's really important to have a focus on what we're going to target in terms of the sectors we're focusing. We started really going through the socio-economic empowerment, or the economic and social empowerment. This was really our primary role. And this has emerged after a long time of 3 years being initiated to distribute food baskets. We have the saying in Arabic that says, "Allimni kayfa astar," instead of giving me a fish or meat. They make me learn how to fish instead of giving me the fish itself. We also wanted to focus on the emergency response because there was a lot of need and necessities. During the time there was a flood happening in Eb, there was electricity shortage, so we wanted to be contributing to that, and so forth. We're going to highlight a little bit about them in the future, in the next slides. And then wanted to also be part of bringing unity to the different segments that we started feeling there's a cultural fracture. النسيج الوطني والاجتماعي started to kind of start opening up into fragmented pieces. We wanted to really bring people into one, to make them feel that we're all one, despite whatever is going in Yemen. And so with that, we were starting to really do production video clips and production leveling awareness in how to really become in peace. So with that said, in the economic social empowerment, we wanted to focus in 2 entities or 2 segments: the youth, for our primary focus, and the families who are most in need. In the youth segment, throughout the years, we went through a bunch of projects, which we're going to highlight a bit of the pictures in the next slides. And the families that were really in need, we designed for them a project which we called Makinhom. Makinhom in Arabic means empower them. So the project of Makinhom started after we realized that over 30,000 families were already addressed in this database. We started reaching out to international donors like the UN, and so we were showing them the database. They wanted to really work with us in the future to see how we can really empower these families. But we didn't want to take that risk because we were having in mind that as the funds didn't come, we wanted to really start the pilot project. So the first pilot project that we did was a contribution from the private sector. As the project started then to grow, we then opened the collaborations with the international donors. This is another project that we worked in empowering the youth. Project that was funded by Jam'iyat Al-Aun Al-Mubashir, which is a Kuwaiti entity, direct aid. And basically what happened is that these young entrepreneurs submitted their business plans and they were funded with their seed capital for them to go ahead and launch their projects. Al-Ustada Ma'al Al-Susi is a Kuwaiti figure who lives in Yemen, and she's been a big supporter of this project, channeling donations that were coming for these youth. We've gone through about 4 seasons and chapters of this project, and it's still ongoing. And so forth. And then with youth, we started really focusing on building capacity to those who would like to start their microfinance projects. The good thing about Hemmat Shabab is that the network that we had, was mainly connected to financial institutions, international donors, private sector. So we were able to kind of be the magnet of bringing all these parties in one table and try to really brainstorm together what can really be of a benefit for Yemen as projects. And so forth, we went and started putting some competitions together, bringing people and motivate them and encouraging them to start their own entrepreneurship spirits. We started also an incubator that brought about 72 people or young people who are benefiting out of this incubator. Here we worked with Spark as a funder or a sponsor, and we also worked with a lot of experts in different parts of business, in marketing, finance, business administration, and so forth. And it was a hub for people to come, these young people, to network with the expert people in order for them to grow their businesses. And in Yemen, we don't really have much of incubators, so it was for us a kind of a space where we wanted to contribute to this field. Internship is part of what we do as well. We try to really work with universities and see the students who would like to have experience in the work field. We bring them to our foundation and we give them an opportunity to add this expertise into their CVs. This is one of the very important projects where we're going to have a bit of insight about it at the end of the presentation. We targeted about 100 young people who are residing in Istanbul, Yemenis. I think we'll keep it until then because it's one of the projects that we would like to address here in the US. Badir Bilkhair initiative. Because we started as an initiative where we wanted to really foster and encourage people to do good, Amal al-Khair, we then transitioned from a charity work to a development Amal Tanmawi work. However, because our seed was this, we wanted to encourage other initiatives to continue the work in Ramadan. So what we started to do, we bring all the initiatives that we know from our circle, try to give them the know-how of what we did, and then we try to also link them to the donors. So Ramadan after Ramadan, this Badir Bilkhair initiatives can continue based on what we have started in the past. In the emergency response, we started realizing that the international donors are actually focusing on different clusters like health, education, wash, solar, seasonal campaigns, and also cash assistance. So there are 2 approaches what we do in Hemmat Shabab. One is we talk to the donors and we see what are the funds that they are channeling to Yemen, and we try to design projects according to that. And at the same time, we try to stick to the socio-economic focus that is actually the basis or the main focus of Hemmat Shabab. And most of the time, we kind of come into the middle where we can combine both the interests of Hemmat Shabab as a main strategy and what the international NGO are trying to channel. We've had a good collaborations with some of the international NGOs like the GIZ, Germans, UNICEF, and a few others. Like for example, here in health, we worked with them in the Cash Hands campaign. That was times when there was the cholera situation happening in Taiz. In education, we also worked in Taiz and Aden, donor were UNICEF and Save the Children. And we tried to really do the rehabilitation of so many schools that the UNICEF wanted on a later stage to continue the funding of the project, and then the whole siege of Ta'z happened, so then the project got discontinued. WASH project, also raising awareness. This is another project which was very interesting, solar, in collaboration or sponsorship with PepsiCo. We were able to cover 3 main districts or cities, Sana'a, Amran, and Dammam, and Al-Hudaydah. And the main concept of this project, that the bottles of the Pepsi, they were linked to a certain technology added to an LED, and we were able to light some dark areas and neighborhoods inside these cities. I tried to find the video of this. It's a very short video at the end of this presentation. Yeah, and the food basket campaign started to come from time to time. We had taken a decision not to continue distribution of food because we wanted to really focus on socio-economic development. However, we used to still get some donations with this regard, so we didn't want to really stop it. So whenever we would get it, we would continue delivering or distributing that. It was mainly donated by the private sector. Yes, Soqatra was also important for us. Nadir was with us in a few of these trips before. And what we used to do here, it was mainly trying to raise awareness of the environmental issues in Soqatra. So a lot of people that we started realizing that they didn't really understand what does it mean to maintain the beauty of the city because of this island, because we used to go and would see a lot of plastic, for example, in the area of the island. So we had to run a few environmental campaigns to explain to them what does the plastic do to the island. And a few other raising awareness campaigns that we started. That was the first time we started in Soqatra, was in 2012. Al-Wafa campaign in Ta'z. This was very important campaign. Private sector was taking the lead in funding these campaigns in water, food, and medicine. And it was at a time when Ta'z was under siege, and we were able to have over 20,000 beneficiaries during this hardship time in Ta'z to benefit from this campaign. When it comes to peace building, as I said before, we're trying to really foster the main key values that keeps Yemen united. We have a lot of creative people who are living inside Yemen or outside Yemen. We try to always collaborate with artists, creative people, and we kind of spot on the main challenges that Yemen is facing, and then we invite them to come in one table to brainstorm together and find a way of how to really spread the word of certain values. Anybody have watched any of the video clips we mentioned before? No.
I have watched, I think, TV or something, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we do. We brainstorm it and then we kind of channel it to the TV channels. So. Yeah, one of the really good things that we also worked on, learning how to really build exhibitions and conferences. One of them was TEDx Ta'z, that was formed back in 2014. Massive efforts were done to empower the youth. So we had about 120 volunteers. We worked on a documentary that took a lot of effort, bringing people from Egypt to do the whole shooting, and then also curating the speakers and preparing the whole program for a whole day. And with that, we wanted to kind of continue doing TEDx, but then 2015 the war happened. But then we tried to also continue doing some exhibitions to allow the young entrepreneurs to come and showcase their projects. So back in 2002, we continued doing another project of around 150 entrepreneurs came. They showcased their projects and they were linked to financial institutions. And about 50% of these projects benefited either from the connection with the financial institutions or at least getting to have a way of how to they market the projects, because then they were linked with a lot of marketing experts. Here the clusters mainly helps us to continue showing what we are doing with the international NGOs, but also allowing us to connect with other international donors and local civil society organizations. So we are also active in health, wash, and shelter in certain meetings that they do on a periodical basis. We're also active in some networks in the region area and the international level. This is our board. Dr. Wajdi is also part of our advisory board. And then we have also our local team who are on the field. And I'd like to also show you one of the important projects that we are currently working on. This is a project that we started in 2002. And essentially what this project aims for is to train the young youth or the young Yemenis who are really keen and eager to learn about digital skills. So what we try to do is to let them focus on building their capacities in software development. About 100 Yemenis benefited out of this project. We had 4 cohorts that was successfully conducted. The project was funded by the private sector. Out of these 4 cohorts, it started from February 2022 and it ended in November 2022, same year. We have learned a lot from this project because we thought of that starting focusing on the Yemenis who are inside Yemen and outside Yemen. So Egypt was one of our also targeted areas. We also see a big potential for the Yemenis who are also here in the US. We had to go through a whole selection process of how to select, announce, and select, and then also make sure that these students, not only that they get the training, but we also put them inside a pool of a network to help them then get jobs. I mean, today it's very hard to kind of progress in life without thinking and understanding that, you know, being part in the digital transformation world, everything now is going towards the digital direction, and for us it was all about how do we really keep up with the pace of technology, because we can still do the socio-economic projects, but then it's also important to keep an eye on the technological side, the digital side of the scope of these projects. What also they have learned is that after they started graduating from the cohort, they started realizing how it's important to have core competencies as simple as building their CVs, knowing how to really present themselves, how to pitch themselves. And that was also part of the soft skills that they were trained at during the process of the training. Definitely we've learned lessons out of this project. One of them was that, because this project was offered to them for free, right? So like these young people, they were under assessment, and once they have met the criteria, we're then able to give them the courses. A lot of them who then felt that at some point they were not showing up, we then learned that then the next time we have to at least put some fees for this so that they can really appreciate the value of the project. So with that said, we are really looking forward to continue doing these cohorts in different countries. There's the success stories of what we have learned, success stories of the people. A lot of them now, from the 100, about 35 of them have already found freelancing jobs. We try to really help them link into certain networks. BBC News also talked about the project. And so maybe I go back a little bit to the question, why is Hemmat Shabab relevant in our conversation today? Because of 2 main reasons. One is for us, a lot of us who have left Yemen, for example, we're keeping also an eye how we can really contribute back, but it becomes a bit of a struggle of how to really associate ourselves and our efforts to entities who are really having integrity in the way that they really put the work. And so for us, Hemmat Shabab is one of these gateways that actually assesses and makes sure that the projects and the funds that we take are actually in the appropriate place of projects. And the second is that Hemmat Shabab is now in a phase that is growing, and already we are in talks of how we really can extend Hemmat Shabab progress appearance and existence in the US. So the current phase, we are now doing a few talks with a few of our Hemmat Shabab friends and Yemen friends that they would like to also be part of extending the projects in the US. 50% of the projects that we're going to do are going to be focusing on the Yemenis who are residing in the US. And the 50% efforts of Hemmat Shabab is going to be a part of promoting the projects that we are doing in Yemen. So that's currently the status of where we are. I'd like to leave you with this small video that gives you a little bit of an idea of مشروع مكنهم or empowering the youth, the families in Yemen. It gives you a bit of a glimpse why is this project impactful. And families like her, they're actually being trained in what they are passionate about. Right? So like you have widows and you have women who are kind of passionate in a certain field. We sit down with them, we make sure that they have the potential, and from there on we start making sure that they are really trained in what they are going to focus in the future. Not only that, but in 6 months' time, after they are empowered, we go ahead and we visit them to make sure that their project actually still visits. Yeah, so a lot of these projects they vary from sewing to water distribution to vapor and like a little bit of vocational training. And with that, I want to say that we didn't really start in the beginning of Hemmat Shabab knowing that Hemmat Shabab is going to extend in such a way, but we started with an intent to make sure that we have really a good solid structure in terms of reporting, in terms of promoting the work, and now is the time that we're actually thinking of extending out of Yemen. We never knew that we're going to extend out of Yemen, and it was really a good opportunity for us to come today and to explain to you the story of Hemmat Shabab, for us to kind of also connect in a level where we can look at the humanitarian cause in Yemen in such a way that it can keep us also reminded of these people who are really looking forward to at least think of them, and also at the same time thinking of the Yemeni youth who are here in the USA, of how we can really be of support for them to level up their capacities in the digital transformation world. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes, please.
First of all, thank you so much. I think this was amazing for me, not knowing Yemen so much. I was very intrigued about the first part, where you say that your primary focus is the youth and empowering them. And I was doing my own research. I realized that Yemen has 46%, as per UN census data 2021, 46% of their women population are under 18. And another 43% from 18 to 44. So that means if you look at the age group, almost 90% of Yemeni women falling from like 0 to like 44, which is like almost like youth is so much big. So like it really like resonates like how you're focusing, which was like amazing. I didn't know those data. And out of all MENA countries, Middle Eastern and North Africa, Yemen has the most youngest population when it comes to performance, which is kind of like connects.
This population is their energy.
Energy,
It's a
yeah.
big support.
Yeah. My second part of the question is, how are you monitoring that? Like, I'm just focusing on the first part, youth program part. You said that you are really encouraging the entrepreneurs and stuff. Are you completely donating some portion of the money, or it's part of like micro? The microeconomy is a big trend now. Like, you're not donating the money, but you're giving some portion of the money, and the expectation is they'll try to return that money as they start gaining some profit, blah, blah, all those things. So is it like 100% donation, or are you monitoring like the progress? Of course, there will always failures. We don't expect everyone to success. Like, how the monitoring part works. Also, like, is there any return from there? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
is it like microeconomy based, or is it completely donation based? If it is donation based, how you're monitoring? Also, if it is microeconomy based, how you're monitoring?
Yeah, good question. So when it comes to the segment of the youth, well, I definitely agree with you. The big percentage of the Yemeni population are actually young people, and what really made us start at the beginning is the passion that we used to see in the volunteers who used to come. I mean, we reached to a point where we had about 1,012, almost 1,200 volunteers in the 5 governorates. And we also saw during the time before having it as an institutionalized foundation that these youth were really, once they believe in something, they really go for the projects. And so that was our focus. Back then we didn't really go through statistics, but we really saw that fire that the youth had. And we wanted to really focus on them, and from there these projects started really to grow. When it comes to the projects of the microfinance projects, we do monitor. These projects, we don't ask the families to pay us back. We really kind of give them the foundational, let's say, training and building capacities of how to handle this project. We then put a phase of a monitoring that takes from 6 months to 1 year after they really start the project. And once that's done, we kind of really visit them from time to time, and we spread the word from our network to let them kind of have an exposure of what they do. So we can actually enable them to have a sort of a marketing platform through Hemmat Shabab. But we do not expect something, so we do not expect something from them in return. All what we ask them, we let them sign papers that they're gonna abide by the whole system and structure and training, but for money we don't ask them back.
First, let me compliment you on your presentation. In the limited amount of time, you gave such well-organized and revealing information on all aspects of your organization, to where I, as somebody who just heard your presentation for a half an hour, feel that I really know what you're doing, and I appreciate it, and I thank you for it. Now my question is, you have been here before, so you saw 12 years ago what the Muslim Educational Trust, where we were and where we are today. And let me say that I'm thinking aloud, so I really don't have a very specific question. That the areas that come to my mind is I feel privileged to have attended the presentation. And I feel that maybe what we as a group ought to do before the evening is over is think of ways that the Muslim Educational Trust and your foundation could work together, maybe on a project or on communications or on marketing or whatever the group decides, and what you feel is needed that could enhance the areas that you think need to be enhanced based on your 12 years experience. So I just think that you've done a wonderful presentation. I'm sure other people helped you, but you guys have done a great job of in a limited amount of time covering almost all aspects. So it's really hard for a person who attended is to ask you a question, because you've answered a lot of our questions as they come up. So I'm just inviting you, I guess, to let us as a group know how the Muslim Educational Trust and the Muslim community in Portland, beyond just the Yemenis, how we can participate and help, learn from you, and be a mutual learning experience, and each other's, help each other succeed in whatever it is.
Be part of it. The same question from me.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good point. Thank you very much, first of all. While I was speaking with Dr. Wajdi about how we can really find these parallels between what Hemmat Shabab does and what MET, we're also brainstorming a few of the projects that we can potentially work hand in hand. And I think Dr. Wajdi maybe at some point can also revert to a certain point, but the floor is of course open. Hemmat Shabab, we're always having this open mind and heart to be able to learn and also collaborate and open our hands to do further collaboration. So if there's any ideas, we're very open to receive and have a conversation.
One of the greatest, I think this question is, Leila, is very, both you and brother Sanjid. Sanjid is a senior manager with Nike. And he's a director of innovative and creativity. And he worked for Victoria's Secrets as well as a VP.
Women's dominated areas.
So we are really blessed, and he's a great parent in our school system. He and Sister Zara. So he come from entrepreneurship. Leila, your question is, I think Muhammad did yesterday reflect with our junior and senior class. We teach leadership, as you know, and entrepreneurship and engagement. So one of the young, young leader, she asked him, how can we help? And we talk about, think globally and act locally, and think locally and act globally. So we are planning to do our first heritage tour to possibly Jerusalem, Medina, and Mecca. And maybe as a treat after that, they go and do plantation. Socotra Island, many people, they don't know that Yemen is 80% green. And Socotra Island is one of the islands that have been declared by the Cisco and UNESCO. And Cisco is the Islamic world, equivalent to the UNESCO. So as one of the most natural habitat, and we're declared as a protected green island, محميات طبيعية. So Muhammad, in his trips to Socotra, he takes a lot of individuals. They plant, a lot of trees, because it has one of the unique, the dragon blood.
Dam al-Akhwain.
Dam al-Akhwain. Dam al-Akhwain in Arabic means that the myth in Yemen is when Abel and Cain, Habil wa Qabil. So the blood of Qabil was the reason for this Dam al-Akhwain, because when you scratch it, red, it bleeds. But it's used for natural medicine and other stuff. So these trips, hopefully heritage tour, just to enhance what's going on in Jerusalem and Palestine, in Mecca and Medina. So the connectivity of our youth as American Muslim youth. And one of the most beautiful about Hemmat Shabab, they are one of the few that does review statements, by Deloitte and many other international CPAs, firm. So they have clear, understanding. Transparency and clear understanding how to maximize the return of investment, where Muhammad as a businessman, he and the family and many other businesswomen and businessmen. So that's, I think, where we can heal and unify, and become that ummatic, that ummah of Muhammad that, wants to heal globally in what's going on, the challenges. Sorry.
We have several events a year, right? At MET. We have a publicity stamp every event with a donation website.
In 15 minutes.
From all the guests that we receive here, between the governor, the city leaders, the state leaders, and so on. Everybody knows what Yemen is now. Everyone knows where Yemen is. All we need is publicizing like an organization like this with a donation website for how to donate and so on. And I think we will be able to do something.
And it's a good idea, and I feel also what we can do is to have these projects that we have already packaged, to have them, we have also videos and we have leaflets with them, so whenever these are
Yeah, we can play them
really
during events
yeah.
that we have. We just let them play, let people see what's going on.
Good. Thank you. Yes?
My question is about the country situation at this stage. As we know, the war in China. So how are you free to do whatever you have been done? It's a very good idea. It's beautiful. We like it. The unity, how it can, and how do we face those problems to solve this thing? Because grace is one of the enemies of them. The Houthis. So how could you face it? How could you become and respect to those
Good question. So inside, for example, in Yemen Shabab, we're dispersed not only in Sana'a, but we're also present in, so we have a license in Sana'a that covers the north, we have a license in Aden that covers the south, and then we have another license in Ta'is, as there are so many projects that the international NGOs would like to have licenses. When it comes to the projects in Sana'a, most of the time we face so many challenges to get the permits. Entities there, they try to really squeeze you in getting more fees. But what really helps us is perseverance. You know, we keep showing up, we keep showing up. The number of entities who are from the local civil society organizations are only handful that they are there at the field. And us being there on the field, keeping showing up and making the connection between the international donors and between these projects, we often go and just show up for them and telling them if they're not being part of helping, then they're actually part of the problem. So we always continue, perseverance is the only answer I can tell you, by us showing up again and again. When it comes to the US, this is going to be a totally different entity away from Yemen. Now, the Houthis are, I would say, you know, they don't like to see the Americans involved, and that's why when we said, or we thought about having